What I think happened here is that the Obama administration used the power of our intelligence agencies to monitor the presidential candidate of another party. And it did this in two ways. First of all, it used our intelligence agencies by getting FISA warrants. And this is extraordinary. This is to get legal authorization to use our foreign intelligence agencies to spy on Americans in the United States. This is only supposed to be done in the case of some dire national security reasons, like terrorism, not because we don't like the candidate of the other party. And the second thing is, it seems that they asked for intelligence collection that supposedly was against the Russians, but they were calling through this information to find references to Trump campaign officials, which they could then leak to the media. This is also a serious violation of the law. It's a violation of the charter of these intelligence agencies. And we hear all this crowing that the Trump administration, the Russians were interfering with the integrity of our elections. I'll tell you, I can't think of anything that interfered more with our elections than this effort by the Obama administration.
No, absolutely not. But yesterday there was a press conference, and let me play a little bit of this for you, if you don't mind. Take a listen to this.
As I told you last week about the issue with the president talking about tapping Trump Tower, that evidence still remains the same, that we don't have any evidence that took place. And in fact, I don't believe, just in the last week of time, the people we've talked to, I don't think there was an actual tap of Trump Tower. However, as I expressed last week, and I remain even more concerned about this, which are twofold. One, the incidental collection of Americans that were possibly tied to the Trump campaign that could have been leaked, similar to General Flynn. And secondly, the unmasking of Americans' names, potentially for political purposes, which we're continuing to ask more about that. Mr. Schiff and I are sending a letter today to Director Comey, Pompeo, and Admiral Rogers, asking for the total number of names that were unmasked over the course of the last 6 months. And that letter, I think we'll pass that letter out to all of you so that you will have it.
So that was Nunes yesterday at the press conference, and they said basically that there wasn't an actual wiretap of the Trump Tower. And as we said, the media thought they had their gotcha moment early on when they thought Trump tweeted, when he said wiretap in his tweets, but they knew darn well that Trump knew darn well, and we all knew darn well that hardwiring these days, it's not exactly the same kind of thing, but somehow that made him a liar in the mind of the media, and they wanted to pass that on to those who read their stories and watched them on TV. But it seems that Nunes did downplay the tweet, Fred, but what was that all about yesterday? What were they basically telling us? Because I'll tell you what, we get so much information all the time, and my listeners are telling me that where do we stand with all of this?
Well, I like what he said about incidental collection.
Yes.
And that's what I was talking about, where the Obama administration said collect stuff against the Russians, which they then culled through to get references to Americans. And some of the media trying to say, well, if we accidentally collect stuff against Trump officials when looking at Russian intelligence, that's not so bad. It is bad. There are special rules to minimize the names of Americans, to take the names out of Americans in such intelligence reporting. And revealing those names is a crime. Those people are protected under the law. Their name is not supposed to be released.
Right.
In fact, the transcript of Flynn's discussion with Ambassador Kislyak released is a very serious violation. Do you know that when a member of Congress is collected by the NSA, that the NSA has to throw that report out unless a director determines there's a dire national security reason to disseminate it? And if it's disseminated, it's only to very senior people. I imagine the members of an opposing campaign from another party, there should be special rules restricting collection against them.
And you're absolutely right. And that did concern me as well when I was hearing those names mentioned. If you don't mind, I